Alright everyone, we start off today with a little bit of analysis with regards to the 2024 election. Now of course that's quite a distance away, and of course things can happen in the meantime since there are several years to go. I suspect there is a significant chance that Donald Trump will run in 2024. As I've said, there are some things that could stop that from happening. He could have a health issue. Biden could have a health issue. I've explained how that would make it look bad to have Trump running when he'd be at that point the same age that Biden was in this last election. It might begin to look a little bit odd to people. He could croak, or you could have Biden's presidency recover. I pretty much discount this fourth option, so I pretty much take that off the table. Barring any of these things happening, I think there's about a 90% chance that Trump will actually run. So I'm going to analyze a little bit here, but first and foremost, keep in mind if you are watching this video on YouTube, there will be a pinned comment down below with links to 4 other video hosting sites. Keep in mind I make 2 exclusive videos a day that go there, and they don't go on YouTube, especially since YouTube's algorithms appear in the last 48 hours to have shifted again. Again, another marginal decrease for the independent content creator community, and again, I check this with other people, so it might be a glitch. Sometimes it happens for a couple of days. Other times it becomes permanent as YouTube slowly becomes UsTube and becomes the next Netflix or Hulu or something. But anyway, here's what I would say. There's one big glaring problem with Trump running, which is it possible to win in a fortified election scenario? The answer is no. Can he win? The answer is potentially yes. All you have to do is defortify. Efforts are underway right now in literally dozens of states to try to improve the election situation, because keep in mind, the states mainly handle the election systems. It's not really a federal thing. The Democrats, briefly, were trying to do that. Joe Manchin smacked him in the cock and told him it wouldn't happen. He didn't foresee that being something he wanted to do. Even Biden was hesitant at first. Then he said, well, 51% of Democrats support turning the United States into an autocracy, so I'll go along with the shtick. I'll go along with the idea because I happen to be in charge at the time that the autocracy happens. Here's the thing. It would be a terrible idea to federalize the elections. We should be moving in the opposite direction, which is we should have voter ID laws in every state. The states, though, have to take the fore on that because the federal government shouldn't be meddling in the elections, which are meant to be run predominantly by the states. The laws that are being passed in places like Georgia and Texas are very helpful. You can see that the Democrats have stooped to considerable levels to stop defortification in a number of states. In North Carolina, they readjusted the composition of their state Supreme Court, which is one step from, like if Biden were to say, yeah, I think we need to expand SCOTUS to 11 justices, it would cause massive uproar. It would be seen as fascistic, as tyrannical, as unethical, sleazy, underhanded. His polls would drop considerably. The Democrats actually did it in North Carolina. Now, why would you do it there? Because North Carolina is a swing state. If you fortify that election and anything happens, honk honk, it looks a little bit more organic because, of course, you're going to have, within 2 or 3 points, you're going to have the voting margins anyway. We won't even talk about the Arizona audit results here on a YouTube video. You can pay attention to one of today's exclusives. Again, pinned comment down below, links in the description. You'll get my opinion on that later if you're paying attention to me on BitChute, Rumble, Odyssey, or Minds, because I'll upload it on those sites. Donald Trump, I believe, wants to run. Again, there's always the chance that something prevents that from happening, croaks or whatever. If he doesn't, DeSantis probably, or Rand Paul, gets his endorsement and becomes nominee. Trump will almost certainly, at the very least, be the kingmaker in the 24 election. I can't imagine the Democrats doing very well in the midterms, and the problem is that if they lose the House, and I suspect there's a 95% chance they do, if they lose the House and they can't accomplish anything, and Biden so far hasn't done anything, there's not going to be any enthusiasm. If you thought there was a lack of enthusiasm for Biden in 20 or for Hillary in 16, my goodness, wait till you see what happens next. It's going to be a hilarious election. Can you imagine Trump debating, an 80-year-old fucking Biden, by the way, who's clearly off his rocker? He needs notes to even fucking talk to Narendra Modi. Can you imagine the debate and how great it will be? Here's the thing, though. You play a role in this, U.S. citizens, of course. Go out into your community. Don't wait. Start literally now. If you have the capability, and some of you do, run for local office. Become a precinct captain or something for the Republican Party. Because you got to defortify the GOP a little bit more, too. You still got Liz Cheney's and John McCain-style Republicans in the party, many of them controlling a great deal of money. What's happened is that Steve Bannon and other people are attempting to literally overhaul the entire GOP. They have overthrown thousands of precinct positions over the course of the last year. Thousands of positions. They're slowly subsuming large swaths of the Republican Party to reform it into what it was meant to be, which is populistic, government of the people, the grand old party mentality, something that's at least votable for. Like, I voted for Trump, but like looking down ballots, like, a lot of these Republicans aren't worth supporting. Yeah, you got your Rand Pauls, I like that dude. You got DeSantis, he's likable. Not a big Abbott fan. Not a big Marjorie Taylor Greene fan. Certainly I'm not a Ted Cruz or a Marco Rubio fan. Mitch McConnell is Turtle Man. Most of the Republicans I don't like. It would be nice if they could reform it into a situation where liberty-loving principles are the ones that are actually espoused as opposed to the rhino-con mentality. So that's first. Consider getting involved, and I know most of you probably aren't even Republicans. I know that I'm not, so I wouldn't seek a precinct position. Well, there's a different alternative. Run for a local office as independent. In local offices, you can actually win as an independent most of the time. Try to become a mayor. Try to become a commissioner of some sort. Head the housing authority and then fucking dissolve it. School boards. Get rid of the wokeness. There are all sorts of reforms that you yourself in the civic sense can enact simply by showing up for a vote. There are votes that are held all the time in the country, and there's like 10 people that showed up for the meeting. 20, 30 people cast a ballot. In some of small-town America, you realize how low turnout is for local events in most of small-town America? The real civic structure really is only present in a small number of places. Northern New England, like where I'm from Vermont, being one of those things. You still have town meeting day and shit like that. Most of the country is not like that. Nobody pays attention to civics. Why do you think the same corrupt, coke-snorting sheriff gets elected over and over again? Why do you think the shitty judge keeps getting elected? Because nobody shows up. Nobody runs against them. They run unopposed most of the time. Even if they fucking suck. Well, kick them out. And then defortify things on the state level. Do this before the midterms, all the local stuff. Gobble the precincts, gobble the town councils, the city councils, mayor's offices, all this other stuff. Use that local organizational capacity to get together with others both online and in real life and start subsuming state positions. Make sure that officials that are going to handle the elections on the state level weren't involved in the last one in a number of states. Honk honk. I won't say why because, again, we're on YouTube. Just for dietary reasons. They like their steak well done, I hear. That's all you have to do. Trump would win under such conditions. And by the way, you don't even need to do this in a plurality of states. Most of the states are defortified to begin with. It's difficult to make the argument, and it'd be impossible, arguably, to the American people, that a state like that was 20 points red all of a sudden flipped a point blue, or vice versa, that a state was long-standingly blue, California went for the Republicans. People would be very, very suspicious of that result. Unless it was a wave election, an absolute goddamn steamrolling blowout, which in this partisan climate is not particularly likely, although Biden's definitely doing all he can to lose by massive margins. And of course, if it's Kamala Harris, yeah, you could start looking at a 40-state sweep or something like that if Kamala's the presidential candidate. I genuinely believe that. I think that she would be slam-a-jam into the goddamn Stone Age if she's the candidate. Otherwise, you're focusing on basically about a dozen states. You're focusing on places like Minnesota, Pennsylvania, Florida, Texas, states that are reasonably close in the margins. Arguably, at this point, I think Florida is going to start going more red because the Democrats are beginning to lose Hispanic voters left and right. Oh God, what a free-for-all it'll be in the Southwest if New Mexico starts to look like it's a swing state again. But there are places in the country, Virginia, North Carolina, New Hampshire, some of these places where the margin tends to be within 4 or 5 points. If you have a defortified election, you can expect a reasonably accurate result. There will always be some voter fraud. There will always be some people that are eligible that are turned away because of some arcane rule in certain states regarding precincts and stuff like that. 99.9% of the votes will be just fine. If the elections remain fortified by billionaires, which they openly admitted to, Bloomberg was bragging about it before the election even happened, if that remains the case, then you can't necessarily be assured of that. Again, I'll give you my opinion on Arizona in an exclusive video later. If defortification occurs in a plurality of those states where there was honk honk going on in the last election, Trump will win. That is the truth, because there won't be enough places left to fortify to prevent that from happening. And all the propaganda in the world doesn't seem to be slowing down the Trump train. He's still holding rallies with 100 times more people than Biden ever had. Biden, meanwhile, has suffered the greatest one-month drop in polling of any modern president. It's going to be difficult times, I think, for the globalists if Trump is the candidate. And of course, I'm not completely keen on the idea of DeSantis because here's what I think. If Trump endorses him, I'd be for him. If Trump held off an endorsement and just wandered off or something, it would make me a little bit suspicious that there was some astroturfing going on, regardless of what I think about DeSantis' COVID-related decisions. I'll just say that. Of course, I was also very skeptical of Mike Pence. I show good judgment of character, generally speaking. That's about all. Peace out.